So this is a quick guide on how to do historical wargaming. By historical wargaming, I'm not talking about the rule sets or how to play them or finding a rule set you like. I'm talking about once you've found a rule set, you've found a battle you want to do, you want to recreate that battle on the tabletop, refight it, how to go about it. There's some couple of cheats and tricks you can do. Now, the first thing is these, depending on which battle it is, it could be pretty big, and often you're gonna have. I'd recommend as well with any battle you do, get multiple people involved, so then you're not having to buy them all yourselves. You're not having to pay them yourself. If you want to do that, that's great. Go ahead and do it. But with that in mind, the first thing you're gonna have to think about is information on the battle. You probably already know quite a lot about this battle. I've heard it, watched a documentary about it, read a book about it. However, you came across it. So, but especially with multiple people involved, and for ease of reference, I'll pick one book about that battle. I think a book would be better than a documentary just because it's easier of reference, and use it and go off it. I like the Osprey books, so I would always pick an Osprey book to use for the various battles you do it. The reason why I like them is because they're concise, the information in them, yet they're not very well accredited for where they got the information from. So people criticise them on that, but I've never heard them making any like wild statements or guesses that aren't supported. I haven't seen supported elsewhere else. Also, in them, they all tend to have the majority of the battles. They will have. Find it here. They'll have a map. Now, some people again debate the veracity of these maps when I think they tend to be as fairly accurate as I've seen them, and for quite a lot of battles as well. We know where they happened and roughly what the size were on, but not blow for blow manoeuvres. So you work on that. But the reason why I like them is because it simply says. So we'll go for the units in the middle there, the B unit. And then if you go to the bottom, they've got the numbers enabled to it. And it will simply tell you, helps them right bit. So the Centre Scottish Division, 7,000 strong. Tells you who's in charge of it, and that's great. So that comes into numbers. So how do you decide what you're going to do? Because obviously, with historical wargaming, the model ratio isn't 1-to-1. For some stuff, it might be. So, but let's say if you're doing Flames of War, using any of the Flames of War you want, and you knew there was a let's say an engagement where there was a Sherman platoon against being ambushed by a tank ace, then you probably might have from the battle reports a direct number of how many vehicles involved, and then you can do it if it's a small number. But for example, Battle of Flodden Centre Division, 7,000 men. You're not going to paint up 7,000 models. When I did the Battle of Flodden, I used the pike and shot rules. Now, with the pike and shot rules, the way they're written is that each individual unit, each block of men you use, doesn't represent what you put on the board. So I normally put about 12 models in each unit, but they don't represent 12 men. So then you think, how are we going to do it? How are we going to represent it? The trick I use is I divide by 100 or 1,000. Yeah, divide by 1,000. So if there's 7,000 men, I'll have 7 units. And then, because obviously, again, we're going to use my Battle of Flodden game as an example there. So then I will just use my best judgment on it, which units I'm going to use. So for the Centre Division, I used the 7,000 men. I divided that. The majority of them was pike. I probably got this wrong, but out of the 7,000, I think 4 of them were pike. 4 of them were pike. 2 of them were shots. 1 unit crossbowmen, 1 unit of arquebusiers, and 1 of them was Highlanders. Now, I did that to try and best represent the format of the forces. So that's all you do is you get the number. It's the way I like to do it. It works quite well. You get the number, you divide it by, I divide it by 1,000, and then I'd split that up to make the composition of that part of their army look something like it historically did. Because wargaming, it isn't a direct catalyst for historical battles. It's not a direct simulation. It's just a fun approximation. That's why we're playing for fun. Another trick. So obviously, if I have 7,000 men just in the centre division, and then, for example, the Scottish, they had another 5,000 on the right flank and another 10,000 on their left flank. So that's already over 20,000 models. That's over 20. That's nearly 30 units that you'd have on the board there. So that's quite a lot. So what I did, I just picked a specific part. I think I just picked the centre when I did my battle report. So you don't have to do entirety of battles. Just pick the specific bit you're doing. For example, for Waterloo, huge battle. It'd be great. I'd love to fight all of Waterloo. But like, you just might not be able to do it. So just pick one of the farmhouses to do part, or a specific your favourite part of that battle. Gettysburg. Most people won't wargame the entirety of the 3-day battle of Gettysburg. They might just do Pickett's Charge or Little Big Top. Another thing good as well, I think bringing additional players into it makes it fun. The funnest war games I've done are multiplayer games and multiple sizes. So you can get some of the personalities going, so you can get like the commanders like pretend arguing with each other, and then they start to language and banter joins in. But anyway, I've digressed there. So that's how I do how I recreate a battle on the field. For a good example of it, I watch my Battle of Fulham video, which I'll hopefully link in the comments. Another thing, if you check in the description, I've now got a Facebook presence, Facebook page. Subscribe to that because I'm going to be doing at some point, I don't know when, at some point I'll be doing some live streaming of me doing various stuff. A live stream would be painting, wargaming, or crafting, creating various bits and pieces.